So I take criticism for being a fan of multiple teams. Vancouver first, Boston second, Dallas third, and then there's a hierarchy from there. Um, but it's funny because I look at where my teams are right now in Boston. They look good today, and that win with 5 seconds left. Oh, that was the icing on the cake right there. That's and that just really knocks the wind out of Philadelphia and any hope they had for the playoffs. Just killer. So on the one hand, I felt great as a Bruins fan. On the other, I felt bad for Flyers fans because it looked like they were at least going to get a point out of it, and then they didn't. Um, and as a Dallas fan, right now hope is fading. I don't know what they do in the offseason to fix it, but Vancouver. The reason for this video is Vancouver, and I know I'm not Vancouvered up. I'm still wearing my Bruins gear from watching the Bruins game earlier, but the question the question in Vancouver is one that's been in Boston before. It's a question I asked with Boston over the summer. I felt like the prospects they had up and coming, I wasn't excited about, and I wasn't all that happy with the direction of the team. I really wanted to see some prime prospects in Boston, and I felt like the team had drafted poorly and yada yada yada. And then they've achieved a lot this year compared to the last couple seasons. Hiring and bringing in and promoting Bruce Cassidy has been a huge boon for Boston. Which brings me back to Vancouver. So Bo Horvat's quoted today as saying, "We're not out of it. We still consider ourselves alive for the playoffs." Of course he does. This is not news. When hockey players say we're still in the race, it means, as far as they're concerned, they're still in the race. Until they're mathematically eliminated, what else are they going to say? No, we're done. No, we're screwed. We're done. We're not gonna get anywhere. The Canucks still have games to play, and as long as they're mathematically alive for the playoffs, they want to get there. So the question becomes one of, where's the future? Now, I've gone through the Hockey News and their appraisal of the Canucks, which is not good for the future. Future Watch has them at 30th out of 30 teams for the future. I think it's better than that. But, I get the standard questions of what's Horvat's ceiling. I think he's near it. I think he's potentially a 30-goal scorer. I think he's potentially a 65, 70-point player. And I think that's good. I think that's good enough. I think he's a first-line center. I don't know about superstar. I don't know what qualifies a person as a superstar. I qualify Patrice Bergeron in Boston as a superstar, and yet he's never really offensively put up the kind of numbers that a Jamie Benn can or a Sidney Crosby does every year. So superstar to me is just this vague term that you throw around for players that you perceive as being at a level that you can't just measure with points. Vancouver's problems to me are simple. We fans want to see players who try hard, so we accept mediocrity from players who are trying hard. Sven Baertschi plays hard. Streaky player. I still don't see him as top six. Personally, I haven't. When the Canucks picked him up, I understand the second rounder they sent to Calgary hasn't developed yet. He hasn't become the kind of guy that comes back to bite you. I don't even know if he's in their top 10 prospects. Let me take a look. Take a quick look while I got your attention. I don't think he is. Yeah, Rasmus Andersson is number 5 on their list. There's a hole on the Flames' blue line of right shot D-man that can skate on the second pair with TJ Brody. Andersson may not be ready yet, but aspects of his game make it a possibility down the road. A strong skater, Andersson has good vision and sense with the puck, plus a feel for when to take a chance. Holding him back is conditioning. He needs to get in NHL shape, Conroy said, noting how Andersson doesn't maintain his pace on back-to-back nights. He's made improvements, but it takes time. And in Stockton, at the time this magazine was made, he had played 43 games and had 20 points. That's what they gave up for Baertschi. So it definitely still looks like Andersson. It's doubtful that he ever becomes top 4 in my eyes. And as long as the Canucks have guys like them and Chaput and Magna and Skilly, and as long as there's players in the lineup who try really hard but don't have the puck skill, Brendan Gaunce is another one, you're going to struggle to score. And yet, while people may want to see kids come in and play, the harsh reality is the Canucks don't have anybody in Utica who's ready to be an NHLer. Jake Virtanen is the big shiny object in the corner. Everybody goes, look at Virtanen. He's a failure. He sucks. He's a flop. All right. So Virtanen's a flop. Fine. Whatever. I think it's too early to call somebody a flop yet. But let's take a look at this, because this bears some looking. The first year that Benning was in charge was May 21st, 2014. So the 2014 draft was his first. Virtanen in the minors. McCann was traded for Goodbranson, who's been hurt for forever. Thatcher Demko looks damn good in the minors. Nikita Tramkin looks fantastic, especially for a guy who was drafted as 66th overall. Gustav Forsling handed away to Chicago. Looks like a top 6 defenseman for Chicago. Kyle Petit not playing. Mackenzie Stewart as a throwaway at 186th overall, so don't get mad at him over that one. 2015, Brock Besser. He hasn't signed yet. Guillaume Brisebois, not ready yet. Zukhanov may not come over. Carl Neal, not ready yet. Adam Gaudette, putting up really good totals in junior, not ready yet. Lucas Jasic, looks like a steal where he was drafted, and so does Tate Olson, who was drafted 210th. 2016, this past draft, Olli Juolevi, not ready yet, defenseman. William Lockwood, may eventually be ready. Cole Candela, no idea. Jakob Stuckel, no idea. Rodrigo Arboles, no idea. And Brett McKenzie, who knows. In terms of other prospects from before that, Bo Horvat's with the team. Hunter Shinkarik's a fridge guy with Calgary. And they traded him out to get Marcus Granlund. I tore that trade apart at the time. Granlund scored 17 goals. That's way more than Shinkarik. The Canucks come out ahead. But is Granlund a top 6 forward? The answer is probably not. I think, for me anyways, the guy who sticks out above and beyond all else is Brandon Sutter. So if I'm going to look at Jim Benning and what he's doing with the Canucks right now, I'm looking at Brandon Sutter. And I'm looking at Brandon Sutter not because I don't like Brandon Sutter. I like him. I like what the kid provides. But he doesn't have the offensive acumen you need in a second-line center. So here's the problem. You got Henrik Sedin, who's lost a step. You got Bo Horvat, who's not really a first-line center yet. You've got Brandon Sutter, who defensively needs some work. And just in general, there's things in his game that I'm not all that impressed with. And then what? And that's where there's a problem. Now, where Vancouver's going to have an issue too, and for anybody who's saying, well, play kids. What kids? Jordan Subban, not defensively ready for the NHL. They've got Stetcher in there already. They've got Tramkin in there already. You've already got Horvat, who's contributing in a top 6 role. You've already got Berchi, who's young, on the team. You've got a lot of youth on the team, and you got Demko getting ready in the minors. But, and this is part of where I can kind of see where the hockey news is coming from. Who's the franchise player for Vancouver going to be? Sedins are past it. Besser looks like a good top 6 guy, but we don't know. He's just in college. We know Demko is going to be a good goaltender. He's put up great numbers in Utica over the last few weeks. Who's the franchise? You have to have a face of the franchise. A video that I intend to do this weekend, I may even be able to do it tonight, is face of the franchise. So I want to have a forward, defenseman, and a goaltender, and point out how if you don't have a face of the franchise at all 3 spots, at forward, defense, and goaltending, you're probably not winning the Stanley Cup. Unless your goaltender is Carey Price. And Price doesn't have a cup yet. It's one of those things. So for the Canucks, they don't have their franchise defenseman unless Juolevi's it. They've never had a franchise defenseman in Vancouver. Jeff Brown was close, had personal issues in the locker room that I'm not getting into on my channel that prevented him from sticking with any team. He was traded a lot for a guy who scored a lot of points. Jovanovski was good, and he was a Team Canada defenseman, but he really wasn't a number one guy. The Canucks have never had that. They've had Lidster, they've had Lume, they've had a lot of guys who've been good. Oland, good defenseman. They haven't had that horse. They haven't had that Nick Lidstrom. They haven't had that Scott Stevens, that Al McInnes. They've never had it. And it's frustrating as a fan to see what's going on. So you have fans on one side that say tank. There's no point tanking. There's no franchise player in this year's draft anyways. So that's just ridiculous. You have some saying we're going to make the playoffs, or we should be in the playoffs, or we have really, really strong talent on this team. There are fans who think that. They're crazy. The Canucks are very hardworking. They remind me of the Canucks in the mid-'80s. Really hardworking, some good players, not great players, and just kind of mishmash. And with the way that the Canucks have made trades, until this past trade deadline, it had always been both. It's like they'd make a trade to get younger, and then they'd make a trade to get older. They would trade a prospect for somebody who's older. And Benning's statement on this has always been, we want a guy who's further along in his development that can contribute right now. The risk to that being, we're giving away future potential for present talent for a team that is not a contender. I can totally understand having that stance if the Canucks had been a contender or near a contender last year, but they were nowhere near it. And sadly, I think when the offseason arrives, Desjardins probably going to lose his job, whether he deserves it or not. They're going to shuffle out some players. They're going to lose one in expansion. And then I have a bad feeling that the draft will come and go. Free agency will come and go. I could see them picking up a free agent forward and saying, we're good. We're set. We're going to go to the playoffs next year. So it's this mire, this muck that Vancouver's caught in. And I look at their recent results and the fact they get points and they're still mathematically there. I actually see it as a bad thing. And yet, I look at Colorado, I look at Arizona, I look at New Jersey, and I say, man, there's three miserable teams. I really don't know what I would think if I was a fan of those teams. So for the people who are saying, oh, well, just tank, there's your three worst teams in the league. Do you really think it's happy time for those fans as well? And New Jersey, in terms of prospects, is not awash in them. Doesn't have as many as the Rangers have in terms of young, talented players and prospects, or the Islanders, two of their biggest rivals. Corey Schneider's now in his early 30s. Got to be getting frustrated. And how much longer does he lose before he says, I'd like to go win somewhere? I'd kind of like to win. Now, Schneider's a good team guy, and he'll stick around, but for how long? So I don't envy those teams either. I guess my thing is this. As we watch the Canucks sort of maintain that hope for the playoffs, where do they go? Drop to 30th? Okay. And then what? They can still win the draft lottery. The odds get worse the higher up you go, but the Canucks can still win the draft lottery. All it takes is the NHL saying the number one draft pick belongs to the Vancouver Canucks, and we all do a happy dance until Jim Benning goes up to that podium and says, with the first draft pick, the Canucks are drafting, opens his mouth, and it's not Nico Hischier, and it's not Nolan Patrick. Or he says, we trade the draft pick to Edmonton, we trade the draft pick to Florida, we trade the draft pick wherever he trades it, and says we trade it for their first and a second, and then Canuck fans go insane. Insane. I think part of the frustration I have as a hockey fan is I'm a Canuck fan first and a Bruin fan second, and the fan bases for the Canucks and the Bruins are the most frustrating to deal with in the NHL. For me, personally. I know when Bruins fans come out of the woodwork and comment on my channel, a lot of times it's really negative and nasty, and I'm thinking, I'm one of you. If you guys are pricks to me, and I'm a Bruins fan, how much of assholes are you guys to people who aren't Bruins fans? And then I sometimes feel that way with Canuck fans too. You know, there are certain times where if I don't just heap quite enough praise on the Canucks, I get accused of not really being a fan. Or if I say, well, you know, the Sedins have lost it, and I don't see Berchi as a top six guy, and I think the Canucks are kind of in a mire, which I'm saying now, I get told, well, you're not really a fan then. So if I see things how they really are, in my eyes, I'm not really a fan. It's frustrating because in my opinion, the Canucks right now are doing the same thing that Calgary did when they had Ginla and Kiprusoff, the same thing Toronto did when they had Kessel and all that group, where you're sticking close to the playoffs, you're not quite making it, and you're not bad enough to really retool and rebuild your team. You're just in that mushy middle, and you're not quite good enough for the playoffs. And it's frustrating to watch. All right, I got that out of my system. Let me know what you guys think. Who is going to be the face of the Canucks? Like, I agree, Horvat right now looks like he's going to be, but is that a franchise guy you can look at and say, well, you'll win a cup with him? He is one of the players that I think can take you there, but you need more than him. And I don't know if Besser's it either. I think there's a lot of good players, but in terms of having that great guy, and again, I'm going to do a video where I discuss each team's great players, and just let me know what you guys think. All right, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. I'll make sure I'm wearing a different jersey for the next video and a different hat as well. And again, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and with all my videos now, I'm adding all of the pages to keep in contact with me or to provide support for the channel, that kind of thing. I have been adding more patron videos lately. I think I'm up to 4 now. I think I've got 4 of them on there, which are just more of the personal behind the scenes kind of stuff than what I do here. And I'm going to have more fun with that as spring arrives. It's coming. It stopped snowing for the last 3 days, so that's something. Once spring arrives, it's really nice out. I'm going to take the computer out and I'll, you know, do stuff downtown or stuff in Vancouver, that kind of thing. I'm going to have some fun with it. Yeah, so just let me know what you guys think. And if you're Canuck fans, let me know how you feel right now. Because I'm again, to me, it's just that mushy middle. And how do you get out of that mushy middle? Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you all again soon.